Let me now bring in Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery on this. Admiral, do I have you, sir, in this breaking news?
You do, Marky. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. If you have a live look at your screen and exactly what I'm seeing, could I just get your real, comments right now, your thoughts on what we're seeing unfold?
Well, I like this because the Secretary Rubio spent almost all day yesterday communicating that this was a law enforcement issue with military support. And now you're seeing the law enforcement end of the operation. This is basically, federal agents, FBI, DEA, that are now taking this case over, and he's going to be held accountable, much like President Noriega was in a U.S. federal court system, and eventually, if the charges are proven, in a federal penitentiary. And that's exactly how we should treat this issue. This was a law enforcement issue that was executed because of the exigency of where he was located, was executed by law enforcement and military personnel.
And just this image of the helicopter about to take off, I mean, it speaks to the magnitude of who's inside, right? How unprecedented is this? Or is this kind of usual for some of these high-profile cases that we see out of New York?
It wasn't usual to go from an up armor vehicle to an SUV to a helicopter, but whatever. Some of that might be the legalities of who's holding him at that moment and turning him over. Some of it might just be easier security. But this is what I think what they're trying to do here is avoid craziness at the actual district court by bringing him in by helicopter.
Yeah. Talk to me just about the operation as a whole and your thoughts this morning. I mean, my team has been talking all morning long how wild it is, how perfectly this operation went off without a hitch, right? I mean, no American troops killed. They got all their equipment back. They got their guy alive. What are the chances that it went off like it did, sir?
Well, I mean, this is a very complex operation. As you may recall, during the Osama bin Laden capture-kill mission, they actually lost a helicopter due to backwash issues, due to the compound not being exactly the way they thought it would be. So clearly, very good preparation. What this tells you about is that Delta Force and U.S. Special Operations Forces in general, their level of mission preparation is without equal. And so they executed this. Look, there was also a suppression of enemy air defense, where they took out air defense systems. And then there was also some, they very wisely did a little infliction of pain on the military and intelligence communities in Venezuela by destroying their ops centers. And what that was a note that said, look, if you're thinking somehow that you're going to get involved in this action in the future with some kind of response, don't do it. Because if you do it, we know how to hit you, we know how to hurt you. So those extra 30 or 40 strikes were about messaging to the Venezuelan military.
I was going to ask you that very question and what message it sends to other countries, particularly leaders of our adversaries, the Russias, Chinas, Irans of the world, especially as they watch Nicolas Maduro right now take off in a helicopter in New York in chains and a jumpsuit, headed toward his fate. What message does that send to them that we came in the dead of night, caught you in your jammies and took you back to America? I mean, are they shaking in their boots, or is somebody like a China saying, okay, well, now it's open season on Taiwan?
So there could be several messages in there. I think one is a reminder that if you piss us off and we have time to think about it, you're probably going to be in a lot of trouble. And, the president warned Maduro. He did a maximum pressure campaign for 3 months. And, he gave Maduro every opportunity in the world to flee to Cuba. And Maduro chose not to, and the president removed him. How they see this, how it's interpreted by our adversaries, we have to get into what's the next stage. There's a chance we don't do this right. There's a lot of mixed messages from the administration about, are we running the country or not running the country? And we've left some really bad cronies in power. In other words, Maduro was part of a conspiracy. And as you may recall, he's a bus driver. I mean, he's not it wasn't brain surgery or presidency of Venezuela, right? The two guys that really run the operation, the defense minister, Pedrino Lopez, and the interior justice minister, Cabello Rondon, those two guys also need to eventually be removed by the United States, either given a ticket to Cuba or get the same treatment as Maduro. Because if we leave them in power, what we're telling our adversaries is we don't have the wherewithal to really carry through on our actions.
Let me bring back in retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, just for more color and context. Rear Admiral, thanks for sticking around here. He's being taken to the courthouse this morning. He's being seen at noon today. Do you think we're going to get anything substantial and meaty from today, or will today be, I don't know, mainly symbolic? What are you expecting? I don't know.
So I think today's perfunctory. Yeah, I think, thank you again. And I think today would be perfunctory, just facts, charges laid out. I mean, I don't think they lay the basis of the case today. I think that's going to wait for grand jury. Well, they have some indictments already, but that's going to wait for trial preparation. You have to remember, in the previous cases, while the trials only took 3 or 4 weeks, the preparation for the trials after the arrest took 9 to 12 months. So we could be in for a long period of time before we're actually into the trial framework of this. So, but then the trials themselves, I think, are pretty straightforward, 3 to 4 weeks long. So this is an interesting thing. It's going to take a lot of time. I think, they're going to use different ways of bringing him. I don't think it'll always be a helicopter, but they're going to have to, there's going to be this kind of transportation investment, by the law enforcement over the next year while they bring him back and forth to different venues and different events.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's now being put inside this armored vehicle. Now, I mean, this is quite an operation this morning, and to watch it unfold on TV is truly remarkable in real time. Speaking of the next year and moving forward, sir, I mean, President Trump says the United States will now run Venezuela. Not a whole lot of details have been given there, only that Secretaries Rubio and Hegseth would be working in a team during transition. What are your expectations for America's role in all of this?
So I'm hoping the president was being rhetorical. We're not going to run Venezuela. The expense and effort that would be required to kind of put forces on the ground to impose our will to do things one way or the other is not going to happen. So therefore, it's going to be, we're going to continue a maximum pressure campaign and direct the Venezuelan government and how we'd like to see them operate. And look, as I said, the vice president's no saint either. So the vice president, the defense minister, the interior minister, the people running the country right now generally are part of this criminal conspiracy. And they definitely have been participating in the running of a narco-terrorist state for a decade. They've also, I think it should be said, bled Venezuela dry of money. Venezuela should be one of the richest countries in the world. They have the world's largest proven oil deposits. They should have a massive sovereign wealth fund. They don't. Even worse, they've allowed their oil infrastructure to degrade to a level where they can't rapidly bring back that sovereign wealth. So, that's right. These people need to be held accountable. And so I think what the president really needs to do is continue the job of removing the current government. And I know he doesn't like to talk about Maria Machado, but, make sure that the opposition, whether it's Gonzalez, who won the election, or Machado, who was banned from running, one of the opposition leaders is quickly elected. If the president wants a Nobel Peace Prize, the best thing he can do is ensure that the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize winner is installed, right? I mean, I don't know that he could ever win it, but if there was ever a case for winning it, that's it. And by the way, the due date for events for the next Nobel Peace Prize is January 31st of this year.
Yeah, I'm curious, too, about just the future of Delcy Rodriguez going back and forth, saying Maduro's the only president. Now she's saying, we'll coexist and we'll work in cooperation. A lot of unanswered questions. Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, I got to leave it there. I can't thank you enough, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.